Good morning, comrades. You're listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning, Comrade. Jeff and Robert here on the show. What's happening, Robert?
Hey man, just doing my normal, acting like the world's not ending, clocking in at work, sitting down at my desk, making
So
a
you're lying to
tea,
yourself is what you're doing.
having a good cry, check Google News, let's see, listen to whatever the State Department's saying, listen to whatever Bibi Netanyahu's saying, get my daily dose of listening to Abu Obaida after they do the
Who's that?
That is the de facto leader / press secretary for, I almost said ISIS, for Hamas.
Hamas. That Israeli propaganda.
Dude, I'm on
getting to you, isn't it,
brother? I am on every list. There's no way. Like the work computer has got to be like smoking, because it's like I'm not like on like this isn't Secret Squirrel like dark net. I'm on like. I've hacked into the Hamas mainframe. Like I'm on ClearNet YouTube, just watching like Hamas videos begging for an English translation. I'm like, did anybody got an English translation? And then like 30 minutes later, I'll get like a ping on my phone that's just like your comment has a reply, and it's just a guy who's translated the whole speech for me.
That's incredible.
And I'm like, thanks, bro. Yeah, because apparently, so they said today.
Who's they?
Abu Obaida. Yeah, Hamas has said that they've destroyed or disabled 136 armored units of the IDF, which I tend to believe.
You believe it?
I've been watching them videos. They've been them Call of Duty and them Call of Duty behind Fortnite videos they've been putting out, and they are wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a dude literally like popping out of a hole like it's Metal Gear Solid whack-a-mole at Chuck E. Cheese, hitting it with a tandem round from an RPG, a tandem, RPG round, and then just dropping right back in his hole, and he's gone.
Is this like an attempt to go at is this like an attempt by like Hamas propaganda to just like go for the gamers? Like,
brother, they are. I mean, aid and comfort to a terrorist organization or whatever. But like, let's just face facts. Like, Israel has amazing propaganda game. I mean, they can hit you so many ways. They can hit you with.
Oh boy.
They can hit you with anti-Semitic. They can hit you with we got a right to defend ourselves. They can hit you with ooh-woo, thirst trap IDF girl.
Yeah, oh yeah, IDF girl, like ooh-woo, we're gonna bomb.
They can hit you so, but Hamas they have the propaganda game down. They have like their videos are dank. Like I ain't gonna lie, like, but I mean, I'm being for real. Let's just objectively be like, man, this guy they're gonna come black bag him tonight.
You're not denouncing Hamas enough.
I know I'm not, but I'm just saying, let's zoom back. Like let's talk about them for a second as a terrorist organization. The things that they learned from like ISIS and they learned from Al Qaeda is. I'm a nerd for all this stuff. I read all this stuff. So, like for the people who aren't complete freaks and don't read, or who don't read current event stuff 24 hours a day. Well, that ISIS and ISIS and Al Qaeda were always beefing, right?
And I mean, ISIS split off from like Al Qaeda, right?
Yeah, because Al Qaeda was like, chill, daddy. Stop doing all the
we're trying
bloody
to be legitimate.
videos.
We're trying to clean it up here.
Well, that was the thing, because they did, Al Qaeda did the bloody, videos that like all us 2000s kids.
Yeah,
man, we are screwed up from the stuff. Like, you think the internet's bad? Yeah, you think the internet's crazy now? Like 20 years ago, the internet was so much wilder.
Dude, ISIS kept the beheading videos coming too. Remember
that was the thing. So they said like, this isn't working. Like, we're not getting sympathy off of this. Stop being so violent. And ISIS was like, nah, bro, we're cranking the violence up to 11. And that was but Hamas, going back to what I'm saying, is they don't do videos like that. They don't do bloody, gory videos. They do stuff of just, guys getting tank kills.
They got a video editor.
yeah, they got a video editor. Their main press guys out there saying like, look, we're trying to give these hostages away. Like, Israel's not taking them, and that is 100% like fact. That's a true fact.
It's not even a lie.
They're laying down terms. They're like, look, if you want peace, we're ready to do peace. Here are our terms. We're like, Israel's like, we're gonna kill everybody.
Yeah.
We're gonna kill everybody. And we were talking about this, not recording. I was just watching two YouTubers who Ethan Klein and Hassan Piker talk about, Ethan is he's an American Jew. He's married to an Israeli who
lived in Israel for a time, if I'm not
mistaken. Yeah, he did. And then Hassan,
and his wife was like conscripted, like when you were born. I think she was born in Israel, and if you were born in Israel, like you're forced as a part of your citizenship to be a part of IDF, and so like people hold that against both her and Ethan all the time, which is like a little messed up,
No, it is messed up, but they are really living the like weird, because Israel is an immoral, evil ethno state, and I'll say this, like we should have a ticker on the bottom, like my parents are Jewish, Jews are cool and good.
Yeah, we're not doing anti-Semitism.
No.
Here.
The Zionism is bad. Like Zionism bad, Jews good and cool. But
they're just like everybody else. It's like come on.
Because Israel is an ethno state, that's part of like birthright. Like so the uwu like thirst trap girls like serve a purpose. The whole purpose of birthright, like it's really weird.
Explain what birthright is for people that
so if you are a if you were born a Jew anywhere in the world and your mother's Jewish, and that's how like I'm kind of paraphrasing here, really I'm just going off of like what my father tells me when I ask him questions. Like you are officially like an ethnic Jew, and there's all kinds of different like the tribes all around or whatever, but I'm just trying to be brief. You get a free trip as a youngster to Israel. It's paid for by the government. And so when you go there, what they do is they put all these young, attractive IDF guys who got conscripted to just like hang out with you for a week. And exactly how Ethan and Hila, going back to people we're talking about, like how they met and fell in love, is exactly what the state of Israel wants. It's like this weird, like almost arranged marriage to keep the bloodline going thing. It's very Nazi-esque.
That's pretty fascist. Yeah.
It's so Nazi-esque. It's so weird. But
I've known that some people who were Jewish who like knew about birthright, knew it was like a straight propaganda mission, and their parents made them go, like guilted them into it, that kind of stuff.
I've heard too that like especially in the last maybe 20 years that they know it's a propaganda mission, but they're like, I'm going to get my free trip. I'm finna go party in Tel Aviv.
Go on a trip. Why not? It's vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I don't blame them because it's lit. It's a free trip to Tel Aviv, and they're just like, oh yeah, Israel's crazy. They come back and they're like, oh boy. They're like, but the point is, so they're laying down terms. Hamas is laying down terms, good, bad, or indifferent. Just pull yourself back from the situation. And Israel's like, we don't really have terms. We don't have an end game.
No, we're just going to keep killing
people. Publicly, we don't have, to the Western world, I should say, we don't have, to America, we don't have an end game. We don't have a plan. To everybody else, here's our documents that say how we're doing genocide and ethnic cleansing and how exactly we're going to do it.
And not only that, like, this is going to, to certain people, this might sound ridiculous, but like, it is literally a part of the Netanyahu regime's like strategy to hold power, to like empower Hamas, at least to the point where they could be a scary enough boogeyman that people are like, well, we don't like Netanyahu, and it's actually reflected in his general polling, but he's able to win elections because he's like the person that's gonna like protect them. He's a strong man.
Yeah, it's remember when we were kids and we were told, well, George Bush is president, we can't change horses in the middle of the stream. We're doing the war on terror.
Right, we weren't kids, bro. We was adults, but still, we were young adults.
I was 20 something in the Marines. I was definitely a kid. I'm 40 now. Like 20 years ago, I was a kid.
All right,
like I might have been able to buy a beer, but I was doing kid things.
Yeah, I just not too long ago turned 39, man. And that 40 staring at me.
I know it rocks. But yeah, I have had hard conversations with like both my mother and my father. My mother's a Christian and my dad's a Jew, and like I'm like, well, I guess I should just go, convert to the light of Islam, so that way we can just round it out and have the
you can have
Trinity.
all three of the
Abrahamic
religions
faiths.
of the book. Yeah,
But it's very interesting to listen to all three of them. I mean, to both of them, and like, and I think my mom's kind of like, well, it's the end of days, and what's gonna be, and how I've come
that's
to her.
Scary.
Yeah, I've just been like, well, if that's true, Mom, you're gonna be held to account. So make good choices.
Yeah.
And to my dad, I've been like, well, Dad, if you care about the state of Israel as being a Jewish state, then you have to advocate for them to stop the ethnic state, because they are on a death spiral, because they're backing themselves into a corner to where there's no good outcomes for them. And I think I said this on the show last week. I know I said this with our friend Jenny, and I was just like, there's no good outcome for them. The state of Israel, as we're speaking right now, is finished. And what I mean by finished is it's not sustainable in its current state of like an racist apartheid ethno state that commits genocide. So to me, there's only a couple different scenarios that can play out. If they don't, if they pull back right now and say, you know what, whoopsie doo, we're gonna try to do a peace thing. Well, then Netanyahu's gone immediately.
Yeah, his entire mandate goes away, and also so does Hamas's mandate go away.
Absolutely, it leaves Hamas looking real dumb.
They're just stuck there, sort of like
right.
with their what in their hands.
So it's like our real like enemy of peace is Netanyahu. I'm like, if they
and the United States, no question, they don't take the blood off their hands,
right?
Our hands.
And if then they try to do some kind of a victory thing and be like, well, we did it, we got them all. Well, obviously you didn't. So in 5 to 10 years, this is going to happen again, and then we'll just keep doing the same cycle, and we'll probably have a civil war.
That's the most likely scenario, actually. I think like the status quo, just worse. Is probably the most likely. And then the worst case scenario, I guess, is they just decide to try and go through with it and start World War III.
Well, here's the thing with that too. Like they're done that way. Let's say Israel gets what they want and they genocide every single Palestinian. There's no Palestinians are wiped from history and they're in the face of the earth. Yay, you got your big ethnic state. And now you're surrounded by a country by every country that you're surrounded by is going to be a entry point for 2 billion people who are not going to let that stand throughout the world. And their governments, out of fear of them getting overthrown, is not going to hold them back.
Yeah. So, well, it's not, because as of right now, like the whole thing with even Lebanon, but like Egypt and Saudi Arabia especially, like they're all just like sucking on that Western juice. So they're not going to do anything unless their people make them.
Right, and that's what they're afraid of. That's why like Hezbollah's got to launch. Hezbollah don't want none of this, but they got to launch. They got to launch off stuff to be like, yeah, we're doing it, because if they're, people were already mad at Nasrallah, Nasrallah, the Hezbollah guy, because he was just like, well, we're gonna keep our powder dry, and people in Lebanon were like, what? They were like, this. What
would be the outcome of that? Is that like Lebanon will get clobbered too?
Sure, absolutely. I don't want that. I think they're doing the right
Houthis,
thing.
I know, have fired some rockets, but like they're still in the middle of a civil war for their own place with Saudi Arabia. It's wild. Really the only and I'm not a fan of Iran, but like that's the only sort of like anybody that I can actually see being the ones that sort of like move the ball, and I don't even see that happening in any kind of like immediate sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a real mess. I don't. Yeah, it's really all up to us, and I'm very terrified that we're accelerating fascism here because of this. Like, it feels like we're getting closer to. I was just having a conversation with my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I'm really worried because it feels like things are gonna get bad, like Nazi Germany bad, but we're the ones in Nazi Germany.
Yeah, we're the bad guys. Are we the baddies?
Definitely, yes. We're 100% the baddies.
I mean, again, like we live in a. I mean, I was actually there was a massive protest in DC on last Saturday as of recording. I can't remember the date. It was like what was the date? Like the 5th or the 4th
every day
or
seems
something.
Like
But last Saturday, as of recording, so a week ago, is when this episode releases on the radio. There was a massive protest in DC to, fight. The demand was a ceasefire, explicitly, but obviously, like that is just step one towards the larger goal of the liberation of the Palestinian people from the river to the sea. That's not anti-Semitic to say either, by the way. But like it is like it was one of the most incredible sort of situation or the incredible protests I'd ever been to. I was at the Muslim ban protests in 2017 in January in New York at JFK Airport. I took the A train all the way from World Trade Center out there by myself. I didn't even know the subways, and I just kind of like followed the people with the signs, and that was one of the like hugest protests I'd ever seen. And this was probably twice that size, if not more. It was incredible, like just seeing this many people descend on the heart of empire. And it wasn't just like leftists or whatever. There was a bunch of normal, Joe Schmo people. There was a bunch of just like there was a lot of like aunties and like actual people like wearing hijabs and like people from exactly, people who have like direct ties to either Palestine directly or other like, or they're Muslim, or they have family from different parts of the sort of from the region. I saw guys with like turkey hats and Lebanon and flags and all the stuff, and it was really, it was really a incredible display. Seeing just these like hundreds of thousands of people take to the streets and demand a ceasefire, and just like the incredible thing is just how empire can just stick its fingers in its ears and ignore the call of people like this, and even discipline legislators who take that same stance, like Rashida Tlaib, censuring her for saying from the river to the sea or whatever.
It's so wild when you think about like the people who've been like, there's such a small list of people who've been censured. And it's just like,
they had a guy from Congress like literally introduced a bill that would revoke Palestinians' passports. Like if you're Palestinian, your passport's void. They had another guy who said in a speech on the floor in the House of Representatives, who literally is out there saying that the idea of a Palestinian civilian is the same as a Nazi civilian. And you're going to discipline Rashida Tlaib, who is Palestinian by birth, who has family in the region, friends in the region, and saying something that has been only recently determined by literally by like ADL propaganda.
Well, they'll always come at because they'll always come at whatever slogan or whatever, however
so you can't ever say
anything.
Looks.
Absolutely.
And what ends up happening is they censure her, but not the guy that's calling Palestinian civilians a Nazi or that wants to revoke Palestinian Americans' passports. Like, are you serious? Obviously, it's when you think about it, or when you sort of intellectualize these sorts of things, it's not that shocking. But when you see them happen and you see this effect ratchet, and you see Democrats vote, like I understand Republicans are gonna like just be like a block racist party, but like if Democrats are gonna like cut off their own people, again, it reminds me of when Ilhan Omar back in 2017, actually, she like said some stuff about the ADL. Actually,
said it's all about.
She said something about it's all about the Benjamins, and then like people were saying that that's anti-Semitic, and the Democrats had just introduced this bill that was like a voting rights bill, and instead of, or they had voted on it and like passed it in the House, and like right after they had done that, they just decided like, hey, let's not try and like push this forward. Let's actually like turn the rifle around and shoot ourselves in the face
Absolutely.
by going after Ilhan Omar, who just like tweeted something, you know,
no,
that like
yeah.
bad faith actor is saying is anti-Semitic, which is just like, I mean, this is Democrats are like, oh no, we have to not do anything, I guess, because our enemies are all sad or pretending that we hurt them or whatever. We have to try and make them feel better instead of actually pushing for our agenda.
Well, isn't that the American way though? That's like how we deal with
definitely the Democrat way.
Everything. But you know what? I want to maybe expand on this with all the time we have left, but I didn't want to steal your thunder, but like I've had an idea of, even though it's just like super, super bad. And I think that we're like, we're in Weimar, Germany right now. I also am very hopeful, and I also have a lot of optimism. And what I mean by that is this is my true belief that things are going to be really bad, but there's going to be hope, or things are going to be really bad and there's going to be no hope. But I'm leaning towards, but either way, things are going to be bad. And what I mean by that is, when I say, I'm going to have hope, it really feels like all the things that have happened to lead up to this point are all just like connected. And I don't mean any kind of metaphysical thing. I mean the way that
they're a course of events connected. Like they are.
We don't have healthcare. We don't have decent healthcare in this country. But people are seeing now, like, how much we give $2 billion a year to Israel, and I can't have healthcare. They're starting to see the what's the word, intersectionality of all these issues together. And things like, people are really bummed out about Bernie not calling for a ceasefire.
People are bummed out about Bernie because he will not call for a ceasefire, because he's essentially tailing the Biden administration because he thinks he has some kind of level of influence within the administration.
And I'm bummed out too, but then I think to myself, I go, man, I sure am glad he didn't win. I'm sure I'm glad the DNC stole the race from him so he couldn't be president, because I would hate to be like going up against our first socialist president and people being well, we did the socialist thing, and the socialist thing is genocide. Like we always told you it was going to be. That would be a fight that we don't want to fight. People are like, oh my God, can you believe Joe Biden is doing this? And I'm like, well, here's the thing. If we have to go through this, thank God we're going through it with Joe Biden. Because if we were going through it with Trump, the Democratic Party would be fundraising off of this. They'd be like, ceasefire now, vote for our candidate so we can stop the.
This is what happens when you don't vote. This is what happens when you don't vote blue, no matter who.
Exactly.
But when you do vote blue, no matter who, the exact same policies happen. But
if we didn't have the war in Ukraine, people could be like, well, it's not our business to say what's what, and they're our allies, so we got to back them. But other than that, we're going to stay out. We're not going to tell them what to do. It's like, hey, my dude, like the war in Ukraine sucks, but it also, we can look people in the eye and say, hey, when all these white people got invaded, and you were like, oh my God, this is a complete genocide. But now it's like all these brown people are like getting genocided, and you ain't got nothing to say, and the idea of like, oh my God, I can't believe you're talking like this. You're a terrorist sympathizer. Nobody was saying anything when nobody called anybody in Ukraine a terrorist when they were flying suicide drones into Russia proper. Those words were never uttered. So what's the difference here? Oh, because the State Department told you one is good and one is bad. All right. No. So it's like all these like perfect storms have just like all lined up to like, if we have to go through this hell, we're in the best possible position to go through it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Obviously, while you're going through it, it feels real bad, and like you can't always see what's going to happen on the other side of it. But like, I do think assessing the situation is at least good. I mean, obviously, I'd rather none of this stuff ever have to happen, and there would be no bombs anywhere in the world, and kumbaya, and etc.
We're all here,
like,
so let's.
We're dealing with what we have to deal with, the world that we have. We're making history, but we can't make history on the terms that we choose. Right. I guess like carving that path forward. And you know what? It's difficult, and you can't always see where it's going to go, but you have to have hope in that in order to in order to keep going. Because if you don't have hope, then what are you even gonna ever fight for? You know.
Yeah.
And on the terrorism question, you know, I just didn't have the time to like ask all like 300,000 people that were out there whether or not they denounce and reject Hamas. So maybe they all loved Hamas. I don't know.
You know, that's I was telling Jenny, who's just, you know, obviously she's a Muslim woman.
Yeah.
And she's just like, she's a mess right now.
Shout out to Jenny on it. We love Jenny.
And I told her, I was like, you know what? I was like, I know this, I'm only half joking, and this, so take it as what it is, but I'm half serious too. I was like, take heart. I'm like, who's ever you guys' PR guy is for Islam, I want to hire him for my job, because they've got the best turnaround. It's the most improved image in like the shortest time, you know, from 9/11 to now. People are like, yeah, Muslim people are actually cool and fun.
They're human beings, actually, believe it or not.
Maybe we shouldn't just kill them all. I'm like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we, you know, if we would have learned that lesson before we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, you know, I was trying to figure out like, hey, why does this stuff keep happening? You know, the same questions that our State Department, you know, the same kind of lessons that our State Department guys, I'm sure, honestly, I mean, are trying to inform the Israeli government, but they're in such a bloodlust that they're like, yeah, you guys just screwed it up in Afghanistan and Iraq. We're gonna do this thing the right way. We're gonna murder these people the right way.
Yeah, the most ethical army in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
such trash. Absolute trash.
It's so funny. The idea that, oh my god, dude, that thing, that part of Israeli propaganda is incredible to me. Like we're the like woke military that bombs civilians. It's like, how do they even I mean, like, obviously there's no like it's all optics, it's all like faff and, you know, smoke and mirrors and whatever. It's a replacement for politics, but like I cannot think of an example that better than that of how naked that that kind of politics is, like beyond the most, you know, the most ethical, the most moral military in the world that is like currently, like as we said, you know, not only bombing Gaza where Hamas is, but also like expanding settlements and doing raids in the West Bank where Hamas is not.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what doesn't get talked about, and I really believe there's like an internal dialogue that people have, and they just, you know, for civility's sake, don't let it out, is that, yeah, we've always known that like the IDF propaganda is ridiculous. We've always known, especially evangelical Christians, like of how much they have disdain. And
Christian Zionists are horrible.
Right. So how much they have disdain for everybody, and how much of a racist ethno-state Israel always has been. But there's this collective bargain, the silent agreement that we make with ourselves to be like, well, we know they're not great, but we rather have them fight them there than fight them over here. They're our first line of wall to keep the barbarian hordes out.
And also they're a forward operating base for when we get aggressive and start attacking.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah. So that is the technical like way to put exactly what I just said.
I mean, prior to 9/11, Joe Biden, I keep saying this over and over again, but he said that if Israel did not exist, and he's talking strategically, if Israel did not exist, we would have to invent it.
Well, that's kind of, I mean, that's exactly what I mean. Like, why wouldn't you sell out your values to have a ringside?
It's not okay. So it's not selling out his values. I think it's in perfect alignment with his values.
Well, I mean, Joe Biden is
a American imperialist to his bones, and his entire record in the Senate shows that, reflects that. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't mean Joe Biden in particular. I mean, the American values as they're portrayed to us are historical fiction, are myth. You know. So
well, the very funny thing about the most moral army in the world is we mentioned Christian Zionists and like these like chud conservatives who like complain about wokeness all the time, but they will just like defend to the death the wokest military on earth.
Oh, they love it.
That's so great. I love that part.
Yeah, because they really do look at them. If you're not religious, they look at them as, oh, again, these are the keepers of the wall, which are keeping the hordes from, blowing up my local Poughkeepsie, Illinois Walmart. And then if you have the religious freaks who are just like, yeah, we really need all the Jews to make it on over to Israel so 2/3 of them can die and Jesus can come back.
Yeah, we can't wait for the rapture. We can't wait for the we were getting and at the very least, if that doesn't happen, we're at least getting them out of here.
Absolutely.
Which is like that is super anti-Semitic.
It's so wild. It's so wild. And and we have real world proof of this. You don't even have to look at like weirdo Nazi freaks that you might, encounter every day. Just think about, Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is the Jewish space lasers lady who got censured for that. And as soon as, this new round of hostilities kicks off, she has the nerve to try to call somebody anti-Semitic. She doesn't care anything about the Jewish people. She cares about her own weird death cult, which is, Christian fundamentalism.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I forgot about this Jewish space lasers.
Space lasers.
That's incredible. We got a pause for station ID. You listen to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. It's Good Morning Comrade, goodmorningcomrade.com. Jeff and Robert here talking about Jewish space lasers and Christian Zionists and I watched I watched part of the Republican debate as of recording last night.
You watched that?
Let me tell you something.
Please do.
When it came to the subject of Israel and Palestine, like they didn't even mention that Palestinians were being killed, or that there were even human beings, or that they existed in any meaningful way. It was laser focus on October 7th.
Sure.
And it was just like, we must kill them all. Like literally everybody said, wipe them out, finish them, like all this stuff. Like literally just like, why haven't we done the genocide already? And like it's just like shocking. Like,
really, you were shocked?
I mean, again, I'm not shocked
Surprised
that these people would say that, but seeing somebody actually do it is genuinely like, what is happening right now? You know what I mean?
I guess.
I'm not surprised that they would do it, but like just when somebody does it, it's just like, whoa, you realize what you just said, and you meant that. Like it's just like it was very overwhelming to just, I don't know. It still rattles me every time. I don't know why.
No, when I hear stuff like that, it doesn't surprise me at all.
It didn't surprise me. Like I said, it didn't surprise. It just like when it happens, it's just like, damn. You know what I mean?
But what that kind of rhetoric does, honestly, is it makes us less safe here in America because now
it makes Israel less. I mean, it makes people in Israel less safe. It makes certainly Palestinians less safe.
I mean, honestly, like this is my kind of I know you're having like what you're saying is correct, but what I've learned about myself and what I've learned through, this current round of death and destruction is I'm not necessarily more patient with people. I just like I try to form my arguments to what I think will affect them. And so for the average person, I don't even try to make like a moral argument about, oh, well, can you believe they're dehumanizing people? Well, of course they are. But, I try to make an argument of like, hey, why are we allowing, our colony, our client state to tell us what to do? I try to make like a more America first argument. And I try to, be like, this is actively making us less safe. Like it's riling people up. We're involved with a genocidal rogue state now. And so, I hope you like living on terror high alert, because that's what we're going to be doing here for the time being, because these people aren't stupid. They know they're actually very smart. Shouldn't orientalize them, as we often
So
do,
often do,
like thinking
yeah.
they're dumb Arabs. No, they're watching the news, and they have. You ask anybody, not Palestinian, just ask any Arab or any Arab who's just like, tell me about Israel
Any
Palestine.
Muslim.
Any Muslim, they'll tell you what happened in 1948, and they'll give you names, they'll give you addresses, like the whole bit. They know that obviously we're funding this war. They know if we pull our funding, Israel cannot survive, not even on a war footing. They cannot survive as a state. So that aggression that Israel's putting onto other countries will boomerang on back to us. It will. And so Americans are going to die. We're already being attacked. Like, did you see the Turkish air, not Turkish, but the United States Air Force base that the Turkish police had to come out to stop it from getting overrun? Because people,
no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, people. This was like the last week. People were like getting through the gate. Like the MPs were like, "Well, we're not going to fire on these people." They'd give it, and so the Turkish police had to come out and do like water cannons. Like, this is just the beginning, man. Like, we have to think about our own safety here. And you're talking about a racist ethno-state that's going down the tube, and I don't want my country to be pulled down with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or, I mean, also you don't want the ethno-state to happen, and you don't want, like...
Again... You're making
I know,
the
I'm
correct
making like a
argument,
full
but
argument, and yeah, I know.
My thing is, I want to equip people to make an argument to people who don't care about unaliving other people who don't look like them.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds sad. We should be able to just be like, this is wrong. But obviously that's not enough for a lot of people. This is wrong. We have to appeal to these people's base self-preservation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all the other things. I know. I just like I guess I just know too much. I don't know how to I don't know how to like switch it off.
I'm kind of tired too, though, man, to be honest. Like I'm kind of tired. Like we do a community radio show and podcast that goes out to the same people that, agree with our views. And it's just kind of like we're here in our own little bubble. And honestly, like I'm tired of it. And what I mean by that is like why I feel hopeful, because this thing that we're talking about right now, this worldwide protest movement, this worldwide solidarity with this little strip of land, once we win this, we need to do what the other side does, is they plan for after the war. That's what they're doing right now. Yeah. They're trying to figure out how they're going to slice up Gaza, how they're going to do that, who's going to do this and do that. We need to be, as leftists, we need to be thinking about when we get this victory, when Palestinians are free from the river to the sea, no matter how long it takes, what is the next systemic material problem that is affecting people worldwide that we're going to all go after? What is the next thing? Because we can't lose momentum with this. I really feel like this is the tipping point of the world, where it's like I've never felt more like the emperor has no clothes as far as governments, leaders, policy. The illusion has been broken for so many people. So we have to make sure that like when we win this, we're not going back. We're not going back.
Well, we need to figure out what the resolution would even look like. And then, like a resolution to this, at least in the immediate sense, is a ceasefire. And in like the broader sense, like just a single state of Israel / Palestine, and just like equal rights for all of the people that live there, right. Like that's pretty straightforward what needs to happen, I guess. But like, I guess my question is, like, is that even a possibility? 1, 2, if it is, how do you get from here to there? And then, like, how do you from that point, like, then how do you plan for the next thing? That makes sense?
Absolutely does. Like, if you want to talk about that, and like, I don't know where we're at on time, but like getting to the weeds on that, it's just that I'm not a one-stater guy. If you really want to like get into it, I don't think it matters. I'm not trying to be like, we need to have a schism between one-stater and two-stater people. That's stupid. But I'm not a one-stater guy, just because I really do believe that the state of Israel would never allow their ethnic state to be broken like that.
Sure, but they also will never allow like any concession other than for them to have every part of Palestine from the river to the sea. And what they mean is no Palestinians.
See, I disagree. I disagree with that. I disagree with that completely because, okay, so let's talk. The whole reason Israel is even able to exist is because they are our client state. They are a baby. We prop them up. We take that away, they're done. Not even militarily. They're done. They cannot sustain themselves. As we do sanctions and take away our aid. The whole reason we're in bed with Israel is so we can have a place to land fighter jets and store nuclear warheads. We can easily do that in Turkey. We can easily do that. Hell, we could make peace. We're America. This is what I'm talking about. When this goes back to healthcare too, like all the stuff that we always talk about. When somebody will tell me how much they love America, how much America is the greatest country on earth, how powerful and strong, and if you don't like America, get out. You better love it or leave it. But then I'll ask them, well, why don't we do this? And then they'll go to tell me how weak America is, how America can't do anything. We can't do that. We can't do this. And I'm like, what are you talking? So what I'm saying by that is, we can say, look, Israel, these are the things that this is why we give you money. We can take that and we can make peace. We can make peace with Lebanon if we wanted. If we wanted to, we can make peace with Lebanon and be like, hey, all you guys in Hezbollah, you want to like still do your Hezbollah thing, but you're just going to be a militia for us. And they'd be like, there's a steady paycheck in it for you. They'd be like, sure. I mean, it wouldn't be that simple, but you understand what I'm saying. Like we have the economic power and we have the military power to do whatever we want to do. This is totally. Choice.
I agree with that. The only problem is that would be a complete like 180 in terms of like what the policy has been since the inception of Israel. I mean, the idea of what the United States, what?
I said, you mean like a revolution?
You have a revolution first. Okay. So then this is like a later issue. But like I guess my point is that like when it comes to this question, when it comes to, one state, two state, whatever, it's not even that important. Like how we got into the current situation that we're even in is because the United States would come in and they would say like, okay, we're going to try and broker a deal between Palestine and Israel, and here's the borders or whatever. And then Israel would always just like tell, there would be a deal. And like, specifically Arafat, who, was a leader, former revolutionary, put down his arms, became a diplomat, quite corrupt, but he definitely, I think, wanted peace. He would give away like land concessions over and over again, and it would never be acceptable by Israel ever.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is,
over time, just gave away the entire position of any potential Palestinian state. You know what I mean?
And maybe I am oversimplifying, but I absolutely believe this. Why I say like I'm not a one state person, because I believe that the state of Israel they would die as a nation before they would allow Palestinians civil rights,
equal rights.
That's equal rights. They would die first. They'd rather die to do that. But I think
that's the government, not necessarily the people.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think in a situation where the government of Israel is set down by the U.S. and goes, okay, here's the deal. You can have half a sandwich. You can have, or you can have no sandwich. Those are your choices. Right. Those are your choices. If you pick no sandwich, we'll shake hands. I'll walk away and I'll leave you to your fate. But you can have half a sandwich right now with reparations. But like, yeah. So it's like those are your options. If we put it to them that way, and America has the power to put it to them that way, and it's.
But no will. They have no political will to do that because like there's utility in Israel destabilizing the region like it constantly does. They don't. I mean, even if like neocons love it, but like and I would say like Joe Biden is like kind of like a neocon light. if not a full-blown neocon himself. But like again, the, what utility Israel provides by this complete like sacrosanctity of like everything Israel does, to the point where like not even a non-binding United States resolution, a United Nations resolution gets rejected by the United States seat on the UN, Security Council. Like, you can't even do a non-binding, like, wag your finger, get the UN to wag your finger at Israel. Like, that's not even allowed.
See, and that's the thing, because that's the thing that I'm like, is the UN, is like, there has to be something else behind it. Obviously, I'm not, like a CIA spook would have to tell me and then kill me afterwards, because this is the thing I generally don't understand. The only thing that makes sense to me is racism. It's like, what does the US do with every other client state that's outlived its usefulness? They either let it fall or they take it down. So I'm like, why is Israel so special? I don't understand.
Because the instability that it provides is a very strong foothold. If you have zero daylight between the administration of the United States, the president, and the state itself, then you have a very solid foothold by which, like, you essentially are creating that, like, a law like gravity, right? You're making it so there's no the United States has Israel's back, and that is a given forever. And don't ever question it. Don't ever bother with it, because that is a road that is not going to be going down or even entertained by the United States.
That makes a lot of sense, and I get that 100%. My only thing is, again, if we're gangsters and we are kingmakers, we can just make another king. We can easily have this same deal with Saudi Arabia. Even, we don't care that they killed Khashoggi
when you're winning.
Why change horses? But we're not, though. Like, this keeps us less safe, this arrangement.
Who cares about whether or not you're safe? I mean, it's not about that. I mean, it's about maintaining control in the region. Safety is just a bloody shirt that you can wave when you have somebody who gets, when you have how many Israeli civilians were taken and killed on October 7th, when those people are kidnapped and when they're killed, you can be like, okay, now we can just bomb the hell out of Palestinians in Gaza and just rain hell upon them. And the United States is going to have our back all the way up into it. They won't even say the word ceasefire. If you even say the word ceasefire, we're going to say you're anti-Semitic and you're racist and you don't think Israel has a right to exist, and all the things that they're all saying right now.
That makes a lot of sense. My only, and this is more of a question than a pushback, is that then if that's the case, why can't, let's see if I can answer my own question in my head. If that's the case, why we don't have any juice really with anybody right now? Like, okay, so to me, Israel's a dog that is, he's a big, mean, nasty attack dog that we feed, but he bites everybody. He has no home training. So, like, at the end of the day, if we're constantly having to be like, hey, stop biting people, like,
we're not saying stop biting people. We're not saying saying that.
You're right.
We're just saying, like, make sure you're following the rules while you bite those people or whatever.
Look at me. Now I'm coming at it from a moralistic angle. No, you're right.
Like, there's no, like the realpolitik of it all is like Israel is the attack dog, and they're just tearing up. They're creating instability in the region. They are as stable as it possibly gets when it comes to a United States-Israel relationship. So that's the most solid thing that there possibly is. Civilians are like we've seen this. I mean, the Israeli government has bombed their own hostages in this entire thing. So they don't care about civilians. Straight up.
Not at all. No, you're right. I can't argue with that. I get it. The realpolitik. It's just a terrible, I just hate to see my country, which, don't tell it, but I actually kind of enjoy it here. I just hate this. I don't want to live in Nazi Germany.
Bad
I
leftist.
don't understand.
Bad leftist
I know.
who likes living in America or something. I'm kidding.
I just don't want. How do we? Okay, so here's my question then. Again, a real question, not rhetorical. How do we? Is there enough pressure that individuals that through protests, through boycotts, through just making life uncomfortable for decision makers here, that we can put on people to be like, this relationship is untenable, like it's not worth having this relationship anymore?
That's the only way we can ever possibly change it, right?
Yeah.
That combined with international, like obviously we have to, continue massive marches and massive demonstrations that have been taking place all over the country, and particularly in New York, in DC. I've seen great ones in Philly. I've seen some ones in California, LA, San Francisco, all over the country. That needs to keep up. That needs to be parlayed into political power. We need to get anti-Zionists elected that are going to increase. I mean, honestly, like we've seen actually even growth from people who had previously shown somewhat Zionist proclivities. Specifically, I'm thinking of Jamal Bowman, who there was a huge controversy, if people don't remember, of Jamal Bowman like taking money from AIPAC, which is like the big Israel lobby. It's all about the Benjamin baby, as Ilhan Omar said, and then got in trouble for. But they're huge funders that go after anybody who, in Congress and anybody in government who isn't like extremely hawkish on the or extremely hawkish on like what Israel should and can do to Palestinians, and is an extreme like extremely supportive of the Israel's like policies as a state and all these things. There needs to be a break on the influence of AIPAC in this country, and there needs to be more. I mean, but anyway, that's just a kind of a long way around to say Bowman took AIPAC money, but then then he was like denounced by many people in DSA. There was a big internal fight in DSA over Bowman, with like a whole bunch of drama that I don't really want to get into here. Jamal Bowman's one of the few people in Congress that's called for a ceasefire, like explicitly. So like, people can be moved, people can be changed, people can be shamed, people can be moved along, and it's good to see that, and that should be like noted and praised and supported, and there should be political rewards for that, right? There also needs to just be generally more people who are going to be elected into. I mean, look, I'm not necessarily saying that electoralism is going to be the solution of all of our problems, but like we always say on this show, it is a front in this class war that cannot be left it cannot be left unguarded, and it cannot be left unattended. And potentially there can be opportunities to advance an agenda. I mean, we just went through, I'm not saying it's any leftist or communist or socialist or whatever that just got elected in Virginia, where I live, to the state assembly or the state senate, but they just took majorities in both on a very heavily pro-union agenda. That like a lot of unions spent a lot of money to make this happen, and now the idea is to pursue this agenda and turn it into more future political wins. I mean, like that's not necessarily going to pan out. Well, it's not necessarily going to pan out as like automatic dubs or anything, but that's like the only ways that we can move anything forward is by growing political power and at least using it to one, advance the working class agenda, and two, push against these horrible like imperial like policies that we're doing that, again, like you keep saying and we keep saying together, that make not just Americans but people all over the world less safe. That's the only possible solutions that I can, and it's not popular to say this, not at least not on the left, because a lot of times it's internal squabbling and fighting, and like this person is not significantly like sufficiently like follow my particular secular doctrine or whatever the hell. Right. But like there needs to be a broad based ecumenical left, movement, working class movement in this country that fights for working class values, unions, workers' rights, anti-imperialism, for all the reason we just said, and that's a part of a whole political project that has every single option on the table and every single weapon being utilized.
I was gonna say, to end it,
weapons, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say, to end it, I think everything you said there, we're closer to that than we were 1 month ago, and it sucks that a genocide is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But if like evil people say, let no tragedy go to waste. Mm-hmm. So if we're gonna have to try to stop a genocide, let's drag all the other issues that we have across the finish line as well, and keep pushing and never stop.
And the wrong lesson to take away from this will be, and this is what we can kind of close on, the wrong lesson to take away from this is that we had these massive demonstrations and it didn't like change all of American foreign policy on a drop of a hat or whatever. No, this is something that has to be sustained over a long period of time. You need to play all 4 quarters. You need to play all 17 games. You need to play the whole season. And that's how you win. You don't just have a couple protests and that's it. You need to keep it going permanently. You can't just it's got to be a continuation. It's got to be continued. And the thing that I think could be the potential impediment towards this is the sort of the tendency for people to switch off and disengage. And it's understandable because this stuff is not easy to do over a long period of time. But it's never, nobody ever said it was going to be easy, and it's not going to be easy. I'm telling you right now, it's not.
Exactly. Spoken like a true labor organizer. Glory to Sinn Féin and glory to Sean Féin.
Sinn Féin, Sean Féin in the membrane.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening to Good Morning Comrade. We didn't even talk about the UAW. We didn't even talk about SAG. We barely talked about Virginia. Dude. We have a lot to talk about next week, okay?
There you go.
But we got to get out of here. But thanks, Robert, for hopping on. Yeah, I'll be in town actually around Thanksgiving, so maybe we'll do some in-person shows.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be at my parents'.
All right, we'll see. Well, anyway, maybe we will, maybe we won't. But everybody listening, see you next week. We love you.
Oh, I'll be on Saturday too. I don't know. We're putting this on for next week.
Yeah. This is Saturday. This is Saturday.
Oh, this is going on Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh, so if you're listening to WHIV, this is twice you're going to hear me this week. So aren't you lucky?
Right. Who are you going to be at? What show are you going to be
on? Marta's show.
Oh, yeah. We love Marta.
Jenny's doing it, but she's like, oh, please come back. And I'm like,
cool.
Oh, I'm like, you put some zeros behind that 0 and we can make it happen.
That's such a long trip for you to get to the station,
I know. That's why I get paid well for it. So.
Yeah. We're very rich. All right, everybody. We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Living the WHIV LP New Orleans.
Yep.